The Galactic Academy of Interspecies Excellence floated in high orbit above Proxima Station, a gleaming testament to unity among the stars. Within its crystalline halls, the children of 100 worlds learned together, their differences celebrated rather than feared. At least that was the official motto. Susan Martinez had been the Academy's human nurse for 3 standard years now. She moved through the medical bay with practiced efficiency, her gray-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun, her movements deliberate and calm. To most students, she was simply the kind woman who dispensed ice packs for bruises and soothing words for homesickness. Lucas Chen, a human student in his final year, knew better. He sat in the corner of the medical bay, holding an ice pack to his swollen jaw. The Krethian student who'd hit him during combat training had apologized profusely, but Lucas didn't mind. Pain was temporary. What fascinated him now was watching Nurse Martinez treat a Vexillian cadet who dislocated his shoulder. "This will sting," Susan said gently, her hands moving with surgical precision. The Vexillian's multiple eyes widened as she manipulated the joint back into place with a swift, practiced motion that would have made a military medic proud. "How did you?" "That was..." the cadet stammered in universal standard. 40 years of practice," Susan replied with a warm smile, already wrapping the shoulder in a stabilizing field. Lucas noticed what others missed. The way her fingers had found the exact pressure points to minimize pain, the combat efficiency hidden beneath grandmotherly care. He'd noticed other things too over the months. The way she never sat with her back to a door, how her eyes constantly scanned for threats, the faint scars that peeked from beneath, her collar when she leaned forward. The real revelation came during the Academy's cultural exchange. Week. General Thorax of the Krethian Imperial Guard had come to give a lecture on military history. The insectoid general was a living legend, his carapace decorated with the scars of 30 campaigns. Students from every species packed the auditorium to hear him speak. Lucas sat in the back, flanked by his friends, a curious Vexillian named Zix and a methodical Krethian named Krek. Halfway through the general's presentation about the Battle of Helios 9, the fire alarm blared. "Remain calm," General Thorax commanded, his voice carrying natural authority. "File out in orderly." The explosion cut him off. The far wall erupted inward and armed figures poured through the breach. Pirates, Lucas realized with cold clarity. The Academy's wealth and the value of hostages from prominent families made it an irresistible target. Chaos erupted. Students screamed and scattered. General Thorax barked orders, trying to organize a defense with his 2 military attachés. But they were vastly outnumbered. Lucas found himself swept along with the crowd, pushed toward the medical bay by the crush of panicked students. Zix and Krek stayed close, their survival instincts keeping them together. They burst through the medical bay doors to find Susan calmly ushering students into the reinforced emergency shelter. "Quickly now. Orderly lines," she said, her voice carrying the same warm authority it always did. But Lucas saw something different in her eyes now, something cold and calculating. A pirate appeared in the doorway, weapon raised. Time seemed to slow. Susan moved. The pirate never saw her coming. She closed the distance faster than should have been possible for someone her age, her hand striking his wrist with precision that sent the weapon flying. Her elbow came up into his throat, and as he doubled over, her knee met his face. The entire encounter took less than 3 seconds. The pirate crumpled unconscious. Into the shelter. "Now," Susan said, her voice unchanged as if she'd simply swatted a fly. More pirates appeared. Susan picked up the fallen weapon with the familiarity of someone who'd held thousands before. She didn't fire wildly like the pirates. Each shot was measured, precise, and conservational of ammunition. "Nurse Martinez," General Thorax's voice crackled over the comm system. "We need medical assistance on deck 3. Multiple casualties." "Shelter's locked down," Susan replied, tossing the weapon aside as the last pirate in the corridor fell. "On my way." Lucas stepped forward before he could think better of it. "I'm coming with you." Susan looked at him, really looked at him, and something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps. She gave a curt nod. They moved through the chaos together. Lucas watched in awe as the gentle school nurse transformed into something else entirely. She moved through the corridors like a ghost, anticipating threats before they appeared, neutralizing them with minimal force but maximum efficiency. When they reached Deck 3, They found General Thorax and his attachés pinned down by superior firepower. The general's carapace was cracked in several places, green blood seeping through. Susan assessed the situation in seconds. "Suppressing fire on my mark," she said. The command voice of a seasoned soldier replacing the nurse's gentle tone. What happened next would be discussed in hushed whispers throughout the academy for years to come. Nurse Susan Martinez, armed with nothing but a pirate's discarded weapon and decades of muscle memory, executed a flanking maneuver that allowed General Thorax's team to advance. She cleared rooms with the efficiency of an elite operative, provided tactical advice that saved lives, and personally dragged 3 wounded students to safety. By the time station security arrived, the pirates had been subdued. Susan was back in the medical bay, stitching wounds and dispensing comfort as if nothing had happened. General Thorax found her there an hour later. His multiple eyes fixed on her with newfound respect as she cleaned a cut on his carapace. "Those scars," he said quietly, gesturing to the marks now visible on her arms where her sleeves had torn. "I have seen such patterns before. Plasma burns from the Void Wars. Kinetic trauma from close-quarters boarding actions. You were there, weren't you? At Xerxes Prime?" Susan's hands never stopped moving. "A long time ago, General. The Xerxes siege lasted 4 years. Only the 7th Human Marine Expeditionary Force held that station." His voice carried awe. "You were one of the Void Devils. I was a field medic," Susan corrected gently. "Though we all did what was necessary." Lucas, helping nearby, finally understood. The Void Devils were legendary across the galaxy. They'd held a critical supply station against impossible odds, their determination and adaptability becoming the stuff of nightmares for enemy forces. General Thorax stood at attention and performed his species' highest salute. "It is an honor, Sergeant Major." "Just Susan now," she replied with her characteristic warm smile. "I'm retired." As word spread through the academy, students began to see Nurse Martinez differently. They noticed the scars hidden beneath her sleeves, the tactical awareness in her gentle eyes, the warrior's discipline in her caring touch. Lucas watched her comfort a crying Vexillian student who'd been terrified by the attack, and he finally understood what made humanity special. It wasn't their combat prowess or their stubbornness in the face of impossible odds. It was their capacity to be both the galaxy's fiercest warriors and its gentlest healers, to hold both strength and compassion in the same scarred hands. That, Lucas thought, was truly worth celebrating.